Hello everyone, Leader Dorset Spur here, back with another match reaction video. How frustrating is this as a Tottenham fan at the moment? I really don't know what to make of it, if I'm being honest, because I'm so split between how I'm feeling. So I went on We Are Tottenham TV last night with Kate and Jimbo, The Perfect Match, and James Flowers, and we talked about this game ahead of time in the pre-match pump up. And I in my head, I just had it that we had the beating of Man City. I knew it would be tight. I knew it would be difficult. But I really thought that we had the beating of them. They're going through a difficult time. And we just starting to gain a little bit of momentum. Three Premier League wins. And you kind of thinking to yourself, well, we're going to start going on a roll here. We've got players coming back. We've got options off the bench and so on. And but like you watch the game and it wasn't anywhere near what I was expecting. My match prediction was 3-2. It was a 3-2 win, and that's a bold one. But I thought there'd be goals in it because I did think that Haaland would be back. And with players like Doku in your side and Mamouche, you know that they are really, really dangerous, really, really dangerous team. So I didn't think it would be easy, but I did think that we had the beating of them. But maybe that's just more hope than expectation, as always, as a deluded Spurs fan. Like pretty much everybody, I was shocked to see that Spence wasn't in the starting lineup. Not so much shocked at Kulu or at Son, because they have played an awful lot of football. And when you watch Kulu, you can see that he needs some kind of a little bit of a rest. It looks like, his form isn't. Although he's still contributing, he's still scoring, but when you watch him week in week out, you know what he can bring to the team. So you can see the difference in him as a player currently. So really shocked by the Spence decision, and I think so many. I won't say negative fans, but fans with a different viewpoint from me, I guess, are all kind of jumping on that as a major issue. I personally don't think that the not having Spence in the team cost us the game. I don't think that. I think a little bit of poor defending ends up with Haaland standing on his own, and he puts the ball away. That's not Spence. A lot of that really comes from the fact that, like most people calling out Porro, as great offensively he is, defensively he leaves you quite exposed. So I'm a little bit lost really onto what to make of it. I understand Angie's viewpoint that you've got the Europa League coming up. You've got the Europa League. Then after that is back-to-back games and so on. But we got 8 days before the next Europa game. So would that not be a good time to rest players? But then on top of that, you've then got the issue of players coming back need minutes. So how do you manipulate that, right? Because you need to give Destiny some time. You need to give Odebear time. You need to give Brennan Johnson time to get back to the best football that they can play and their fitness, because there is no there's no other way to really get fit. The match fit And the only way you're getting that is through matches. So I guess you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, as to what's the right thing. And you've got to listen. If you've got players in your squad, you've got to treat them like they are equals. That they are all part of the squad, part of the makeup. You wouldn't look at your team and go, "Yeah, I've got to play this one or I've got to play that one." This isn't the 80s. This isn't the 90s. This is a time where squads are so much more important than they ever were. You'll never get anywhere with just 11 players. It just doesn't work like that. You've got to be able to rotate. So I get that side of it as well. And that's why I feel like I'm torn between, I guess I'm being torn more between my head and my heart about what my head says is sensible and realistic and what my heart is saying I really want to see. Because had we rotated and left players out against Ipswich and lost against Ipswich, geez, could you imagine the meltdown from that? It would be unbearable. It would be absolutely unbearable. And people will go, "Oh, it's only Ipswich." Ipswich beat us. Ipswich took Manchester United all the way yesterday. You know, they are capable of getting a result of some sort. So to lose against them again, to have them do the double over us, would have been, unbelievable. To lose against City by 1 goal in the end is not the worst result that you'll see. But you have to look at some of the positives from that game, if you can find any, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. This is why I try not to do my match reactions after the match, because you get so emotional about it, which is great for YouTube viewers and stuff like that, because views when you lose and you're ranting and losing your shit are really, really popular. Views of me talking like this and trying to be sensible and trying to lay it on a plate will not be watched. You know, I'm a very, very small YouTube channel. I get very few views of my videos anyway. So I do this to kind of get it off my own chest and make me feel better, because if I don't, I guess I get stuck in that social media rut of just reading everybody else's views and listening to everybody else's views and getting frustrated with not feeling represented, I guess. Because there's massive YouTube channels out there that thrive on the negativity and stuff like that. You know, it's how they grow. It's what makes it important for them. And I don't want to be like that. I want to just give my personal view, my personal opinion. I never expect anybody to agree with me or to accept what I say as gospel or anything like that. I just say what I see and how I feel about it. So in terms of the game last night, like I say, disappointed for Spence, although he did get to play at some point in the game. So it wasn't like he was shut out altogether. But interestingly, I thought the first half, Doku was ripping Porro a new one all the time. He just had so much space. But this was because they were getting through the midfield so easily. There was nothing in the midfield. We were chasing shadows, and their passing was quicker and to a certain extent they were using the crossfield passes a fair bit, which opened us up an awful lot, because we were too narrow. And our midfield was getting bypassed, and all the pressure was on our defenders. Vicario pulls off a few decent saves, really decent saves, keeps us in the game. And to go in at half time, I was literally praying, let's get in at 1-0, because I was worried that if they got another one, that would really open the floodgates and make it really, really difficult. So I was hoping that we get into half time and Ange gets the opportunity to make some changes, or whatever, to kind of shore this up. And I have to say, that the second half, I thought we played well. Of course, City are always going to have opportunities because they are a class football team. And people that write them off is just ridiculous. I mean, these guys are fourth in the Premier League. There's still a force to be reckoned with, in my opinion. They're going through their own kind of mini rebuild, and it just so happens that this is at a time when Nottingham Forest are getting everything going their way. Arsenal are doing Arsenal, and Liverpool are flying. So I don't think they're a bad football team. If I'm honest, I don't think they've got bad players. I think they've had some poor results. But there are a lot of teams that are having poor results. Manchester United are falling through the floor. Arsenal drawing against Forest last night. It happens. Villa dropping down to 10th or whatever. Brentford having a bit of a difficult run. Everybody can kind of go through it. So to write off Man City and to look at it and go, we should be beating them, I think is probably pie in the sky. There's not that many teams will beat City this season, home and away. So anyway, I generally thought that the second half we played a lot better. Maddison, I thought, had a really good game. Certainly in the second half, he was controlling things. He was playing the balls out, out wide. The overlaps and so on were really good. But Odegaard really started to impress during the game. I felt that second half he kept running and kept running. He got himself in some really good positions. And was running at the defenders, causing them all sorts of problems. I was really impressed with him. Bergvall as well was dominating and getting in some good positions. Bentancur again starting to look like the player that he was when he first came, and had that real purple patch before his injury. And of course, you can't go without saying Archie Gray. He looks such a talent. At centre back, he looks such a talent. And he's left back, right back. Left centre back, right centre back. I mean, the kid plays everywhere and puts everything into it. And his range of passing is really starting to show. He's actually doing a lot more offensive passing than he was. My biggest criticism of him has been the going back to the keeper too much. But last night and in the previous game, I felt that his forward passing was actually really, really helpful, really, really useful. Again, Porro, I thought, second half he looked a lot more solid. He looked like he was getting forward a bit more and getting those opportunities. We just seemed a lot more fluid and a lot more aggressive and quicker on the ball, sharper movement and so on. Of course, we then make the substitutions, 4 substitutions at once, and you're then able to bring on Son, Kulu, Sarr, who was the other one they brought on? Can't think off the top of my head. But they're bringing players on, and all of a sudden you've got quality off the bench. Of course, it makes some tactical movements. Kulu's playing up front, which isn't really his position. But Son looked a little bit more fresher and looked like he was, getting into the game. Spence, of course, was the other one. Spence was the other one I put on, and he takes off Udogie, who I thought had a really good game first. For the first sort of 60, 70 minutes, whatever it was, I thought he did well. His overlaps, his running, his offensive play was really, really good. But he needs those minutes, and that's why you're making that change. So it was, I felt that when we brought the substitutes on, bringing in that level of quality is really, really encouraging to see. And I thought we caused them all sorts of problems. I thought their play was a lot better, and we created our own opportunities. If it weren't for Ederson making some decent saves, I mean, if you look at the game back, Ederson made 3 or 4 decent saves in that game, particularly the one from Son, which very close range, from a great ball in from Johnson, I believe it was Johnson. I might be wrong, but yeah. So he played a decent ball, and Johnson again. He played another one back that went to Kulu that had he not touched, would have gone to Maddison and definitely given us an opportunity of equalising. And of course, then right towards the end, you've got the one with Papsar, which it hits Sonny on the back rather than a backward flick on. and of course he can't adjust to it to direct that into the net. I mean, and Danso as well had a couple of decent headed opportunities. It's interesting to see him kind of getting a little bit more offensive in terms of his being in the box and so on. And again, another one who I thought had a decent game. You know, he's come in and he's been really strong. But of course, you know, he can't do it on his own. You know, it is what it is. You know, these guys are going to make mistakes. These things are going to happen. But you have to put it in the back of the net yourselves. And we had the opportunities to at least get a draw in this game. So I don't think all is lost. I don't think all is lost in terms of how we played last night. I don't think we were embarrassed by it. And I don't think the rotation of the players made the difference. I still feel that even if we'd have had Spence on the pitch from the beginning instead of Porro, I still think they may well have got a goal because they had the opportunities. I don't think he would have made so much of a difference. Of course, we will never know but you know, Spence is a quality player. I absolutely want him to play every game because he's in the form of his life. But at the same time as that, I don't want him to be burnt out and lose his enthusiasm and lose his abilities through lack of rotation. I don't want other players like Destiny not getting minutes and not being able to keep up with the pace because if God forbid something happens to Spence and Destiny's not up to speed, then you've got all those problems again. So it's just a really difficult balancing act. I guess the one thing we do have to shout out is that Tell is still having a difficult time. It's not happening for him at the moment, and I'm not sure whether playing as an out-and-out striker at this moment in time is working for him. I think he may well need to rotate around the front three to give him time to settle and some time to learn. I do feel that some of the stronger, more physical strikers are having a better time. When we even look at Haaland, he kind of bullies everyone around him and so on. That's not to say that I didn't think that Tell was working hard for the team and trying to get himself into the right positions and so on. I think he was. I think he did try really hard. But for a kid of 19 who's not played an awful lot of football, and that being in the Bundesliga as well, I don't think you can. I don't think you can really judge him at this moment in time. I did say on the We Are Tottenham TV pump up, we were talking about Ange and all the rest of it, and I know there is a massive amount of people that want Ange Postecoglou out, and you are entitled to your opinion for sure. And I'm not sitting here saying Ange Postecoglou's the man and we shouldn't move on from him or whatever. I just still stick to this point that I don't know who you're replacing him with. I don't know who you're replacing him with now. And I don't know in what direction that's going to take us. Because I still feel we need to have the players back so that he's got a full squad. I do feel we need to make sure that the players have got consistency going towards the end of this season, because we still do have the Europa to play for currently. And I know that can all change very quickly. We're not going to get relegated. We know we're not going to get relegated. So maybe after the Europa, if we're out of the Europa League, then maybe that's the time to make a change. But for me, I just don't see the benefit in changing, at least until the end of the season, for where we are now. Because at the end of the season, you may well have the options of what you want to do differently. But like I say, I'm still yet to have a tangible argument from anybody to tell me exactly who we're going to get, who we should get, and why we should get them to be any better. Because, you know, everyone's shouting about the Bournemouth manager. One decent season, and the season's not over yet. You don't know where they're going to finish. They've had some decent results. They play some decent football. But does that mean that he is the best manager out there? Is he Arne Slot? You know, is he Pep Guardiola? You know, is he going to be, you know, your Klopp or someone like that? And how long are you going to give him? You know, does he come in and hit the ground running and that's it? And we fly from there? Is that what we're expecting? Or are we going to expect a change of tactics, a different way of playing? Are these players all of a sudden going to become better than they are now? Is he going to make them better? Is that what we think is going to happen? I honestly don't know the answer to all these questions, right? Because, let's be honest, the manager might pick the team, he might pick the tactics, but you've got an awful lot of people behind the scenes in terms of your recruitment of players, your safety of players, your medical team, your coaches, your tacticians, all these other people that sit behind the manager, who support him and give him the information that he needs to make the right decisions. He doesn't just sit there behind his desk and go, I'm going to play him and him and him and him and him. There's science behind this stuff. There has to be, because the game has moved on so much from the days when, we watched it in the sort of 70s, 80s, 90s, 60s and 50s if you're still that age that you remember those times. It's a different game now, totally different game, and there is so much more to it. So like I say, I'm really pulled in two directions with all of this. I'm disappointed that the loss, that we couldn't keep that winning run going. I really felt that we did have the beating of City. I don't think the rotation of players is the main cause of us not winning that game. Not taking our opportunities is the main issue in that game, because we had them. Couple from Danso, couple from Son, Odebear, Maddison, Kulu. They all had opportunities, and we just weren't able to take them. And we kept them to 1-0, apart from the obviously the VAR debacle at the end of the match. The referee called it that it was a handball. They couldn't decide it wasn't a handball on VAR, so therefore the goal didn't stand. And I'm okay with that. To me, that makes sense. If the referee on the thing says, I think it was a handball, it looked to me like a handball, because he's seeing it in reality in that short space of time. The VAR looks at it, every single angle all over the place, and they can't tell you whether it really was or it really wasn't. Then the on-field decision stands. And for me personally, I think that's the right thing. I still don't think VAR should take as long as it did. If you're taking so long as it did, then that says to me it's not a clear and obvious error, so therefore the on-field decision stands. And if the on-field decision was it wasn't a goal because of handball, then that's fair enough. For me, I think that's how it should work. It shouldn't take so long. But yeah, so listen, I rambling on. I know, and I do this all the time. And this is just me chatting, and there's no one able to have a right to reply to what I'm saying or whatever. And I appreciate that not everybody wants to sit and listen to one bloke moaning for 23 minutes. So if you got to the end of this video, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with it. Like I say, if I was sitting here ranting and raving and had a really cool catchphrase or whatever, then I'm sure I'd get more people interested in what I've got to say. But if you've agreed with what I've said, give me a thumbs up, because that means I'm not on my own. I'm not being deluded. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do consider that, because it don't cost you anything, but it helps me grow the channel and maybe get out to more like-minded people who are fed up with just watching clickbait, moaning, negative videos. There's enough negativity in the world without being negative on everything about football as well. It should be your escape from it, to be fair. But anyway, yeah. So thumbs up if you liked it. Comment if you disagree or you agree or whatever. Subscribe if you don't already. That would be fantastic. And I'll see you on the next one. Up the Spurs.